All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar on top 10 tips for maximizing donations from your website. We're going to get started with some quick housekeeping slides. For those of you who are new to Canada Helps is a social enterprise focused on helping charities. We provide charities with open access to our affordable online fundraising platform and training so that they can better connect with the people who support them. And for donors, we offer a one-stop shop for donating and fundraising for any registered Canadian charity online. Since 2000, over 1.5 million Canadians have donated through Canada Helps, and together we've raised $780 million in donations. So, by now, most of you know that your website is a critical element in your charity's online fundraising success. It's a direct reflection of your charity and your brand, and it's where people who are and are not familiar with your organization go to learn more, get updates, get involved, and make donations. But how often are we really using our websites to make a great first impression, or to string people along the funnel to accomplish our end goals in mind? That's what Cindy Yunan, Charity Marketing Manager at Canada Helps, and Jacob O'Connor, Charity Success Manager at Canada Helps, will talk about today. Next, I'm going to pass this on to Cindy.
Thank you so much, Sandra, for that great introduction. And, one thing to note is that 41% of donors visit a charity's website to do research before making their first gift, and this increases to 90% for major donors. So as the holidays approach, there's no doubt that many charities, including yours, will be doing one thing or another to drive people to your website to donate. Perhaps you have a year-end holiday appeal planned, or maybe you need volunteers to sign up for your program. No matter what it is, you need to make sure you cover these basic but very important best practices that we're going to talk about throughout this presentation. One of the biggest mistakes with online marketing campaigns is the failure to make sure that your team and your website are ready for the visits that you're planning to drive this holiday. So, as Sandra mentioned today, Jacob and I will be covering our top 10 tips for maximizing donations from your website. But first, we're going to take a quick poll from the audience. It'll help us get to know you a little bit better. And what I want to know today is, are you the person that manages and makes edits to your charity's website? So if you take a look at your computer screen, you can go ahead and answer that if you'd like, and I'll just give you a second or two. All right, that's great. 36% of you share responsibilities with somebody else. Okay, so let's move on here. So we're going to start by asking the question, what happens when somebody arrives at your website? Your homepage is arguably the most important element of your website because it's the first impression you'll make to so many prospective donors. You have about 3 seconds from the time someone arrives at your website to engage that visitor. The messaging and imagery on your homepage needs to speak out and connect with the person at the other end almost immediately. One place to start is to consider the weighting of the messaging on your homepage. How important is this page for repeat donors, for potential new donors, or for your volunteers? Existing donors and volunteers already have a relationship with you, so you can steer them deeper into your website through email messaging or member logins. And always remember, the goal of this page is to bring your future donor further into your site and ultimately into your database. Pay attention to your headline, subheading, and your image. The headline should assure the visitor that they're in the right place. A simple example might be, welcome to Better the World. The subheading should drive home your value proposition. For example, we're saving the ocean one shark at a time, and the image should support your value proposition. It should draw the viewer in and inspire them to learn more. In the first 3 seconds, your visitor will have read your headline, your subheading, and looked at your images, and they will have decided whether or not they're in the right place or not. And if you've passed that first test and your website visitor has decided that yes, in fact, they are in the right place, you have about 30 seconds to engage that visitor and convince them to stick around to learn more. So consider this part your elevator pitch. Make your content scannable, meaning avoid using too many large paragraphs, and when possible, use bullets or short sentences, where it makes sense. Ensure that your prospective donors have no doubt about the amazing work your charity is accomplishing, and have an impact-driven headline, subheading. Talk about your impact in the body copy. Designing an impactful homepage doesn't have to be an overwhelming and grueling process, but it's probably the one page you want to spend the most time thinking about and even testing. And this is Young Street Mission's website. I really love this page because when it comes to their donate button, they've hit the gold standard in best e-commerce practices. You can see it's located at the top right-hand corner. We're going to talk about the Donate Now button next, but I want you to know that, it's so important making sure you've implemented these best practices. Don't underestimate the power and the importance of them. So actually, I'm going to let Jacob talk next about the Donate Now button. Just give me a second here while I pass it along to him.
Hi guys, Jacob here. Hope you guys are all having a great day. Before I start on the button, very briefly, I'm part of the charity engagement team here at Canada Helps, where I work day in and day out with charities of all sizes to use our tools to reach their goals, whatever they are. I think that's about enough about me, so now to the button. I'm going to say first things first, as Cindy was just talking about, make it easy to spot no matter where you are on the page. Make it easy for your repeat donors to arrive at your site and find your donate button without having to search for it, and complete their donation with as little effort as possible. I'd say the best practice is to include your donate button above the fold in the main navigation of your website, similar to the Young Street Mission and Better the World here. So whether a person is viewing your website from desktop or mobile, it'll be one of the first things they see without having to scroll down or look around. You never know the exact second someone will be moved to give to your charity, but when they're ready to donate, you want to make sure there's no question in their minds about where or how to do it. Actually, quickly too here, this one may seem like common sense, but we come across many charities' websites with no donate buttons or donate now buttons that aren't working. Make it part of your routine to check that your donate now button is working and functioning the way you want it to. Second, let's choose a color that stands out from the rest of your website, like this one here as well. Make your button big and make it bold. That doesn't mean you should choose a color that contrasts to the point of harming the look and feel of your website, but again, the point here is you want to make it easy for your donors to know where to go. Third, let's double park your call to action. So what does this mean? So in addition to the Donate Now button on the main navigation above the fold, like we see here, we're going to want to also put it on the footer of your website. So think about how you navigate a website. When searching for information about an organization or how to contact them, the footer of the page is often the place we look to. And lastly, link it directly to your donation form. When someone clicks the Donate Now button on your website, most likely they're ready to donate to your organization. If you send them to a page where they have to figure out what to click next to get to your donation form, there's a good chance they might get distracted or maybe even change their mind altogether and navigate away from your page. I think that brings us nicely actually back to Cindy in step number 3.
Thanks, Jacob. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is the number of steps that you're asking your donors to take before completing a donation. So one thing to keep in mind is the less clicks a person has to make to complete a donation, the higher your donation rate will be. So if you have some time, try visiting your charity's website and count how many clicks it takes for someone to become a lead or a donor. And your measurement of success might even be something else. Perhaps what you really want is for your visitors to sign a petition, volunteer, or even adopt a pet. All that said, there are some exceptions to this guiding principle. Sometimes breaking your form or your experience into several pages, as I'm sure you've seen some charities do, to make it less daunting of an experience on your donors can improve your performance. So this could be something that's worthwhile for you to test. And speaking of breaking up forms into less daunting experiences, we have some amazing news to share with all of you today. We're so excited about this at Canada Helps, and I'll pass it back to Jacob to take it from here.
Yeah, we are super excited about this, and a lot of you guys have asked for it. So we're excited to announce the launch of our multi-step forms, in addition also to a bunch of new features and optimizations for our current forms. So the new multi-step forms, they'll guide your donors along the path to completing their donation by presenting just a few questions at a time. So whether you choose to embed our new multi-step form or the traditional one-page form on your site, you'll benefit from maximum branding flexibility either way. And it doesn't necessarily have to be one or the other either. You might choose to use both forms at different times of the year or for different kinds of appeals. But at the end of the day, what you choose depends on your personal preference. For those of you already currently using our one-page donation forms, you'll be excited to hear that the forms and their thank you emails are getting optimized with really nice new design. On our upgraded one-page forms, you'll find fewer sections and more efficient use of the space, so your form feels more approachable and easier to complete for your donors. And this includes mobile too, so watch for a big lift in the number of visitors that are completing their donations to your page just with these small changes. And if you use Canada Helps donation forms, then you probably already know that you can update the image, description, and arrangement at the top of the form, and you can include an impact statement for each donation. This helps to reinforce your organization's work to the donor when they complete that process. A little bit more on that later. Lastly, if I've spoken with you, then you already know. But if you have a mobile optimized website, we definitely recommend embedding your donation form. And so in this way, the donors never have to leave your site to make the donation. Your Canada Helps custom donation form can be easily embedded on your site, as seen in the image here. But if you don't have a mobile optimized site, don't worry. You can still just use a Donate Now button and link it to directly to a standalone Canada Helps donation form that is completely mobile optimized already. And then I'm going to pass it back to Cindy. We are talking about all the other ways to give, except for directly through those forms.
Thanks, Jacob. So, of course, one of the main ways to give to a charity is by donating, but how a supporter can get involved and offer help extends far beyond simply donating. Perhaps the ultimate goal of your charity is to turn a one-time donor into a monthly donor and then incrementally increase that amount that they give over time. But to get to that point, a supporter may need to first dip their foot in by slowly getting involved with your charity in other ways that they're comfortable with. It's all about building a long-term relationship with that donor, and every time they touch base with your organization in some way, it's an opportunity to bring them closer to you and to your cause and to show gratitude for their involvement and communicate with them about the difference that they're making. It's a lot easier if they can go to your website and see all the ways that they can get involved in one place. And you never know, you might spark some ideas on how they can get involved that they wouldn't have thought of on their own and would be happy to. So if you take a look at the slide, we have some, some common examples here. Of course, donating items, making a tribute gift, volunteering. One is asking them to fundraise on your behalf for birthday parties, for weddings. Recently, a few months back, we launched our third-party fundraising tools, a part of the P2P fundraising tools that lets you easily put that button on your website and get them to launch their third-party fundraising for you. And that's the kind of fundraiser that you don't really need to get involved in yourself. They do all the work on your behalf. You can ask them to join your peer-to-peer fundraiser if you have one coming up or going on, if that's a run or a thon. You can ask them to spread the word online, to donate securities, legacy gifts. You can ask them to sign a petition, to write a letter. You can have a message for corporations that are interested in getting involved. So you see there are so many ways that a supporter can support you, and it's just so helpful if you can have one page for them where they can click the one that they're interested in to learn more about it. All right, and we'll pass it on to Jacob. He's going to talk a little bit more to you about a couple of the things that I mentioned here.
Yeah, I just wanted to call special attention to a couple that you talked about here. And firstly, one of those would be tribute giving. So these are really personal, and these were a major focus in the upgrades to donation forms that I was talking about earlier. So coming soon, and you can see it here firsthand, we have our Tribute First form. So this is more of a contextualized experience. So you have the really nice tribute right at the top with a custom e-cards that you see embedded there. So we've added a gorgeous new array of e-cards actually, and you can still have the ability to upload your own e-cards. But this is all for donations in honor or in memory of a special someone, whoever that may be. We've also updated the e-card emails with more subtle colors so that your charity's brand is what's emphasized. And that's what's in the spotlight as well. And then another one that I wanted to touch on, and Cindy mentioned it quickly too, was the donating securities. So if you don't have a broker or you're unsure how to facilitate securities donations, Canada Helps has a securities platform that is completely online and is really growing. You can super easily add a Donate Securities button to your website, and that sends donors directly to the Canada Helps portal to complete their securities donation. Easy as that. And just by having that button, you're letting donors know that they have that option to give in that extremely tax-advantaged way. So these we talked about, all amazing ways to give and get involved. But one other way that I think we don't always think of is giving a testimonial to support or even rave about the amazing work of your charity. And I'll pass it back to Cindy to speak a little more on that.
Thanks so much, Jacob. Okay, so every donation, event, or person helped and compliment received is an opportunity to ask for a testimonial. And testimonials can be long or short or bite-sized or in video or written format, and there are so many ways to use them on your website and on other channels. You can include one on your homepage, on your How to Help page, your testimonials page, in direct mail or e-newsletters, on social, and so much more. So get them and use them because they really help to add credibility and support to your charity's work. Including testimonials and impact stories on your website might seem like an obvious way to inspire your visitors to donate, but what about using them to get your donors to your website in the first place? We're all familiar with Google reviews, and we're used to seeing them when searching for restaurants and stores and companies, but why not take advantage of them for your charity? When someone is happy and inspired by your work, and when appropriate, consider asking them to leave you a review. And as a bonus tip, go to Google My Business and fill out all the information that you can about your charity, because it'll help you take up more space in a Google search and hopefully help more people get to your website in the first place. So in the example on this page, you can see that Furniture Bank has taken up most of the space on this search page, and they have 64 amazing reviews that people can read by clicking on the stars. So, I encourage you, try Googling your charity's name and see what you find. Okay, and I'll pass it on to Jacob, and he'll go on to the next tip.
Hey guys, so we're going to talk a little about themes and seasonality, and you don't want to underestimate the power of nice packaging and festivity on donations. So there are many ways you can update your forms throughout the year so that they're relevant to the season. Something as simple as updating the colors, the images, and description on your donation form can make a difference in the overall experience of your donors. One thing you consider, let's say, okay, so updating your list of funds. So a donor goes to your donation forms, and now they have an updated list of funds to donate to. So let's say you're launching a fundraising appeal for winter clothing during the holidays. So you can include a fund for that in your fund list instead of only offering just a plain general fund. And keep in mind as well that with Canada Helps, you can create as many custom donations forms as you need, and it doesn't cost anything extra. One creative way we've seen some of our charity partners use our donation forms is offering their donors a charitable gift guide. And this is right on their website, and donors can choose from a selection of gifts to donate in honor or in memory of a loved one. Gifts like a goat, for example, a first aid kit, or whatever items make sense for your organization. So an example on this slide, the Mercy Ships, they created a gift guide using beautiful high-quality photos and linked each of it to its own separate custom donation form. To keep the experience seamless, you can then include, so that same image there, you can include it on the donation form so that donors don't ever get confused and wonder if they're making a donation to the correct gift. Charitable gift guides are especially popular during the holidays, but are still relevant all around, so it's definitely something you can put up and then leave up throughout the year. If you're interested in learning more about how to launch a charitable gift guide, we do have a free online guide that'll share a lot of tips and examples with you. Another creative example that we've seen, these are campaign-based donation forms, so for projects or campaigns. So for example, the one you see here is the Okanagan Rail Trail, and basically they had a campaign to turn an old rail corridor into an amazing nature trail, and this was out in BC. So the funds here are held by the Okanagan Community Foundation, and they created a website specific to the campaign with a donation form, you can see there, customized with the branding for that project. We've seen many really successful examples of this. Another one that comes to mind is the Downey Wenjack Fund, and you guys should check that out if you get a chance to. Looks great. But we also have a lot of grassroots campaigns. So capital campaigns for fixing the church roof, or renovating a flooded building, or whatever it may be. And important to know here, you don't need to create a whole new website for this project. So you can just create a landing page in your website with an embedded donation form specific to that project. Or it could even be as simple as creating a custom donation form for your project and then sending it through your social media channels. So it's customized for that project and you just send it out through your social, or you could even include it in your newsletter. So if you have a magnifying glass handy, you might be able to see the suggested donation amounts on the Central Okanagan, the form there. So we'll hear a little bit more about these suggested donation amounts from Cindy.
The next tip is suggested donation amounts. We know that donors are more persuaded to give when they know exactly how their gifts will be used to make a difference. That's no surprise to us anymore. We found an interesting trend that in December, the average donation amount grows by 73%. So with this in mind, take some time to add suggested donation amounts to your donation forms that reflect your average gift size at the holidays and specify the outcome of each amount. You can add up to 4 suggested donation amounts to your customizable donation forms and to your Canada Helps charity profile. Also, we have more exciting news to share. Soon we're going to be introducing our new Smart Sums technology to our customizable donation forms. And with this technology, you'll be able to toggle it on or off as you want to use it. And it will help grow your average donation gift size by presenting suggested donation amounts that include a stretch ask to inspire donors to give more. So what it will do is suggest donation amounts that are specific to your charity if your charity has received a sufficient number of donations from Canada Helps. Otherwise, the presented Smart Sums will be reflective of the giving behavior of charities that are doing similar work as yours and of a similar size to your organization. And either way, the Smart Sums will be customized for one-time versus monthly donations and will be automatically updated throughout the year to reflect seasonal variances in donations. And as always, donors will still get the option to enter any amount of their choosing. So this is something that's really exciting. It's a part of our customizable donation form upgrades that will be coming up in the next month and the next couple of months after that. Okay, and then next we're going to be talking about communicating your impact.
Yeah, and we saw it before, and it kind of touches on the suggested donation amounts, but we know that donors, and especially younger donors, they want to know the tangible impact of their donations. What is my donation specifically doing? And this is one of the reasons why the charitable gift guides that we spoke about are so popular. We surveyed our donors, and 65% of them said they were more likely to increase their total annual donations if they knew the impact their specific gift would make. So make sure you're including some impact statements throughout the donation experience, and the more specific you could be, the better. So a couple examples that we see here. So $100 will provide 20 children with school lunches, or $1,000 will allow us to host 3 arts therapy workshops. So more than I've seen. $50 will protect an acre of rainforest for a year. So if you're using a Canada Helps donation form, try going into the form settings. There you can customize a whole lot, but one of the things you could do is add an impact statement. So for each suggested donation amount, you can add your own impact statement of what that suggested amount will do. And that brings us to tip number 10, the last one with Cindy.
Okay, the last tip, get them before they're gone. What does that mean? Well, the truth is you're not going to convert every visitor to your website into a donor. We wish that were the case, but unfortunately it's not, and we know that. So what you can do is convert more of those visitors who aren't ready to donate into leads. Leads are prospects who have shown interest in your organization that you can nurture into becoming donors in the future. So make sure that you're giving them a way to express that initial interest in your charity's work, either by giving you their email address so you can keep up to date via e-newsletter, by following you on social, by following your blog. Not only should you offer them ways to stay in touch, but it should be an easy to find and in an intuitive place on your website. Don't make them look for it. And then, of course, you want your website to be mobile optimized so that performing all these actions that we've talked about today are easy for them. You know, more than 50% of web traffic is now from a mobile device. That's quite a bit. So you need to ensure that your website and your donation forms are mobile optimized. And, you know, we're not saying you should do it right now, right this second, but if you haven't started thinking about it, start thinking about it. And then, you know, one little tip here about that to keep in mind is if you look at the slide there, you see that Donate Now button in the right-hand corner at the top. That's something you actually need to ask your developer to do, because what normally happens is the donate will fall. You see those 3 little lines at the far left will fall in there, and then the person on your website will have to click those 3 lines to see donate. But what you want is for the Donate Now button to be clearly visible at all times, like Jacob talked about earlier today. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. I'm going to pass it on to Sandra because we'll be doing a question and answer period next.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cindy, and thank you, Jacob, again, for those awesome tips. I'm sure everybody really appreciates them. And, of course, the thought-provoking conversation that occurred as well. So if everybody doesn't mind, we're just going to take a brief question and answer period to our audience. If you have any questions, now would be the time to enter them into the questions log, which, again, is on the right-hand side in the control panel. And I'm just going to give it a minute, and then we'll get started with some questions. All right, guys. Hi, Jacob.
Hey.
Awesome.
I'm here.
Looks like we've actually got a couple of questions already came in, and I believe they're specifically, I think you can answer these. So are you ready to start with the first one?
I hope so. I hope I'm ready.
Awesome. So the first question comes in from Mary, and the question is, how do I insert a Donate Now button on all my electronic correspondences?
Okay, yeah, so I'm actually pretty sure that Canada Helps posted a blog entry on this with pretty detailed instructions. So I think you're talking about like in emails and that kind of thing. So maybe Sandra could find that and post that out for you guys. That would help. But briefly, if you highlight any piece of text or an image when you're in any kind of word processor, so let's say if you're in Microsoft Word or if you're in a Gmail and you're writing an email, or in this case within your signature box within your Gmail or your Outlook, if you highlight text or image within there and you press Control-K, you're prompted to insert a web address So if you put in a URL in there, you're turning that piece of text or image into a link. So basically, to add a donate now button, you would have to go into your e-signature, put whatever image of donate now. So we have a bunch in Canada Helps. You could just use ours, or you could use your own custom one. And then you would highlight that image, press Control K, and then just put the URL to your either your embedded donation form on your website, or just directly to your donation form standalone. I hope that helps.
Awesome. Thanks so much. We've got a second question here, and it's from Connor. And it says, the least amount of click-throughs ensure higher donation rates. Can we embed Canada Helps donation forms for our websites to help?
Yeah, 100%. And we touched on this a few times throughout the webinar. But I guess practically, how you actually do it, you can do this by going directly to your Canada Helps charity account. So I guess go to canadahelps.org and log in with your charity admin email. And then once you're logged in, everything concerning donation forms and donation buttons, anything Donate Now, is in the Donate Now section of your charity account. So if you go to that section, I doubt many of you are following around now, but it'll help maybe for people listening after. But if you scroll to the bottom of that section, you're going to see your donation forms. Right beside the donation form, there's a button that says Get Embed Code. If you click on that button, it's going to right away generate just one line of script. So that's just like a sentence of text, basically. And you're just going to copy that line of script and paste it into your website wherever you wanted the form to be. And that's it. It's that simple.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Moving on to our next question, we have question came in from Marion, and it's, can nonprofit organizations that are not registered charities receive donations through Canada Helps?
Hi, Marion. Yeah, this is a question that we get a lot. So Canada Helps is set up through a relationship where we sync data for every registered charity in Canada from the CRA monthly. So we're specifically working directly with Canadian registered charities through the CRA. So in that way, a nonprofit can't go to Canada Helps and claim a profile because there is only profiles available for registered charities. But we do have a lot of situations where if maybe you already have a pre-existing relationship with a registered charity, or you could search one out, and a registered charity could host a nonprofit within their account. So it could be as like a separate fund, or they could even provide you with your own custom donation form. But everything would in the end flow through that charity's account. So you can get involved, but it's not directly.
Excellent, thanks. Moving on to the next question, we've got, I think this one might be for Cindy. How do you encourage your donors, when they typically do not donate online? And that's coming in from Lori.
Thanks, Sandra, for that. Yeah, that's a really great question, and one I get quite often from charities that get in touch with us at Canada Helps. You know what? You can't underestimate the power of a strong online campaign that is seamless, and one with strong imagery, a strong description, you know, a super easy to fill out donation form. You got to make it so easy and convincing for them that they can't resist. It's just the next natural step of a strong online campaign. You know, there are a lot of tools out there that make it easy for donors to donate online. Ones that guarantee, you know, that have the highest PCI compliance and that donors are comfortable using. And it's not just about that. It's about making your campaign beautiful and inviting and convincing and showing your impact, all those things that we talked about today. But you know, there's one other thing too I want to mention. Maybe consider introducing some of your donors who have donated, you know, say 3 times or more in a year to monthly giving. asking them to sign up for monthly giving, because there are so many benefits to that, both for you and to the donor. You know, first of all, saving on administrative costs. There are costs with doing everything offline. Saving costs on direct mail, on admin hours for the receipting. So I would say try a monthly donation peel and see if that helps. On top of that, if say they're donating $120 in a year, you can ask them to break up their donation so that they donate a lesser amount every month, and so that you know, by the end of the year they'll have donated the same amount they would have donated anyways, and let them know that that actually helps your charity a lot, because it helps you set more predictable budgets, and it helps to keep postage and admin costs down. And you know, there's just so many benefits, and I think the thing to keep in mind is that donors, they want to help you, they want to support your charity, and if you make a great case for support, they'll be more likely to do so. Sometimes it's just a matter of letting them know what the benefits are. I hope that helps. And actually, now that I think about it, we have a Growing Your Monthly Donations white paper. If you're more interested in learning about that, some of the tips there, it's packed with a lot of great tips. And you can get that online if you go to canadahelps.org. If you go to the For Charities section, there's an educational resources section there, and then from there you can access all of our white papers that we have online, and one of them is the Growing Your Monthly Donors white paper. Sandra, if you can share the link with the audience, that would be great. Otherwise, if you can't get it right now, you know, it's pretty easy to find on the website.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. I will work on getting that link and messaging it in the chat as soon as possible. We actually had another question come in here. So Cindy, this one comes from Sharon, and it's, how can we convince someone, either individual or corporate, to pay for a new website?
That's a really great question, Sandra. You know, I love that question. Sharon, when you find out how to do that, please share it with me. I would love to know. But you know what, next month, we're going to be having a special guest come in to present a webinar on how to secure corporate support. So keep an eye out for that one, because while our guest Geronimo might not talk about exactly how to get them to pay directly for our website per se, it might help you learn the right framework for approaching organizations and what they look for when choosing whether or not they'd like to partner or support a charity in some way. I think it's going to be a really great webinar. I think it's going to be presented on October 19th, and we'll be sending out the email to you shortly. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one, and thank you for your question.
Awesome, thanks. So the next question comes in, and it's about donations. So Kaylee asks, what about micro donations? For example, $1 or $2. Are these kinds of donations a waste of time?
I think the thing to keep in mind here is that almost all donations, you know, unless they're like change that people give you or cash donations that people make without expecting a tax receipt, they have credit card processing fees associated with them. So every donation, online donation, will essentially cost you something, and it's not just about the processing fees. You know, it's about the other work that goes hand in hand with that. So for online donations specifically, that's what I'm going to talk about here. We suggest that you set your donation amounts on Canada Helps. If you're using the Canada Helps donation amount settings, and then we suggest $5 or $10 depending on your audience and who you're speaking to. But no matter what, the minimum donation through the Canada Helps customizable donation forms is $3. So that's really just one thing to bear in mind is the costs, and will it end up costing you more than it's worth. Of course, you know, if you have if you mostly rely on these smaller donations and it's working for you, then that's great. It might be something to test out. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Our next question comes in from Angela, and it's, is our monthly newsletter a good place to mention charitable giving? Should we do it each month?
That's a great question. Absolutely. Your monthly newsletter is really a great place to ask your donors to donate to a charity, to join your fundraiser, to fundraise on your behalf. You don't have to ask all these things in one newsletter every month. You can touch on something different every, once a month. It doesn't have to be your main call to action, meaning the primary and usually the top thing, the top level item in your email, but it could be a secondary call to action. At Canada Helps, we actually have our donate button built right into our email, either near or in the footer, and that way it's there anytime somebody feels inspired to donate, and you never know when that might be. So while in your e-newsletter you might want to feature beautiful stories and talk about what's going on with your organization and give updates, share the link to your annual report. It doesn't hurt to always have a secondary call to action that asks them to give to your organization in some way. And then closer to the holidays, we know most of the donations come in December alone. You might want to send just a dedicated email, meaning the email is only about asking them for that donation. And you might want to talk about the tax time benefits there. And there are a lot of really great ideas there. We offer a ton of resources on educating charities about holiday fundraising appeals. We'll be sending out more, but go on Canada Helps, and actually we shared the link to our holiday fundraising guide a short while ago, and I know it'll be included again in the follow-up newsletter, so take a look at that as well. It's packed with a ton of great ideas, and to answer your question, yes, absolutely. The e-newsletter, great place to make your ask.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cindy and Jacob. Looks like we have a couple more minutes, actually, to take a few more questions. Are you guys okay with that?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we did have a question come in, and I think this is a pretty important one, touching on the Donate Now button again. This one comes in from Marilyn, and the question is, should a donate button be on every page of your website?
Okay, so I'm going to give this one to Jacob. Jacob, the question is, should the Donate Now button be on every page of your website?
Hey guys, so in a way, yes. So as we touched on in the presentation too, if it should be in the main navigation. So above the fold, so above where all your content would be, you have kind of that permanent static main bar. So where you have about, maybe services, programs, and then all the way on the right or all the way on the left with again, a bold color, big size, that donate button is always there on the top right of the screen. So no matter what page you're on, that top bar is static and that donate button is there. And then again, what you have at the top of the page, at the bottom, so in the footer, also having that donate button there. So then whether maybe they've scrolled down to the bottom of the page and read about your amazing program, and then they get to the bottom of the page, boom, there's the donate button, it's static. Maybe they read about the staff and about an amazing journey. They get to the bottom of the page, the donate button's there. So yes, maybe it doesn't have to be within the actual content of the page, but definitely in the main, above the fold, in the main navigation, and then in the footer of the page, I'd say definitely.
Great. Thank you. We've got another question here from Sarah. And it says, where on our Canada Helps page do you suggest putting impact statements? For example, should it go after charity description, before testimonials? What is kind of the recommendation there?
Okay, is that where, sorry, where on the Canada Helps page?
Yeah, like on their profile page.
Okay, so I think what they're talking about is the donation page. And actually, the donation page has the impacts. So, okay, I'll cover the donation page and the charity profile page just in case the question is about either one of those. So the donation page is a great place to include an impact statement, of course, because the donor makes it to your page and you just want to keep sharing that impact. There is a description at the very top of the donation form that you can edit, and you can include your the impact there, just general impact of your charity, something really important and hard-hitting that you want to share. But in the area where there are donation levels, so where there are the different buttons, $5, you might set it as $5, $25, $50, $100, and then there's that other box where they can the donor can enter in any donation amount. You can set your impact statements so that when the donor clicks the button, when the donor clicks like the $100 button, the copy appears right below the button that tells the donor what the impact of $100 is. And then to do that, it's really easy to set. You just go into your customizable donation form, you go into settings, the settings of your form, into the donation settings, and then where you set your donation levels, you should see the impact statements next to the impact statements empty field next to each donation button. And then you can just put it in there. You can include it for English and French. It's really easy, and we highly encourage charities to do that if it's appropriate for them.
Awesome. Thank you. I see a couple questions coming in actually to touch on something that Jacob mentioned. So Jacob used the words above the fold. So if we could just clarify what that means for our audience.
Yeah, so basically what I mean by that is, and if you look back on the slides here, but if you look basically at any website, you have the main navigation, and then there's like a break in color, and then the content. So if I go to a website and I click on About, that's above the fold of the page in the main navigation, and I click About, and then below the fold is where you would see the information come up. Sorry, just weird terminology, I guess. Sorry for confusing you guys, but I just mean above the main content of the page in the navigation section. If that makes it a little clearer.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think we have time for one more question. And this one is about archives, so older campaigns. So what is kind of the recommendation for displaying archives on your website when there are so many other organizations that are dealing with, the current disasters, children, that kind of thing?
Hi, Sandra. I'll take this one. That's a really great question. You know what? The archives for some charities like museums or, other charities that have archives and campaigns for them, I mean, let your supporters really envision what would it be like if you couldn't know where you were from, or if the resources weren't there for you to learn the history of whatever it is you're trying to share. I have come across a few great campaigns for archives in the past, and actually TVO has a really great one that I encourage the charity to take a look at. I think the URL might be tvo.org/archives or something like that. Sandra, do you think that is the question, or do you think it's about more of archived campaigns, like old campaigns? I'm not really sure. I would love a little bit of clarity on that. So, you know, please just use your chat box to clarify, and I'm happy to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yep, for sure. I will clarify that for you. I guess in the meantime, we can move on to the next question. And the question is when are the new forms starting?
When are the new forms starting?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm happy to answer that one because I'm super excited about it. And we're getting ready to let, you know, not just me being really happy about it, but the entire Canada Helps team is ecstatic. The development team has been working really, really hard on it. We've been working with amazing designers. So the multi-step forms are launching in about 2 weeks. And there are a whole lot of upgrades coming, and we're not just talking about, you know, the upgrades that we mentioned during this webinar. There is so much more. You know, for example, I'll just give a little sneak peek into what's launching, but the ability to turn off tax receipting. I know that was a really big one. The ability to add offline donations. You know, there's really a ton of stuff. So it'll all be available by the holidays. We're going to be releasing the different features in a few releases. And then just keep an eye out for the emails that we send out, because in each email we'll include like what has just launched, and we have a landing page ready that you can bookmark and just, you know, keep an eye out to see what is in progress and what has launched. Just keep an eye out for that that landing page. We'll be sending it to you, I would say in 2 weeks from now. So yeah, we're excited about this one for sure.
Awesome, thanks. And I think just for our final questions here in the last few minutes of our webinar, I'm seeing a few come in, and I think this one might be more for Jacob. And it's, if I have never used a Canada Helps donation form, how do I go about finding them, and how can I add them to my website?
So I'm assuming you have a Canada Helps account. So we'll operate under the assumption that you have a Canada Helps account. So you're going to want to, and I see another question here about not having the full fundraising account, so I'll address that at the same time. So you would want to log into your account at CanadaHelps.org. So go to CanadaHelps.org, sign in, top right corner, enter your login details. Now you're at your charity home. So everything custom donation forms is in the Donate Now section. So you're going to want to go to that section, and there you can create a new page. You can edit pages you have. But again, so if you want to embed it on your website, you go down to the form that you've created through there, and to the right it says Get Embed Code. It's one line of script. You copy and paste that line of script into your website. Now let's say you go to your charity account and you're not seeing the Donate Now section. What that means is you don't have a full fundraising account. You've only signed up for the profile account. To unlock that Donate Now section, super easy. Just go to the Home tab of your charity account, scroll to the bottom, and there's just going to be a link there. Upgrade now to full fundraising account. You click on that link. There's going to be some terms and conditions you want to read through. If you decide to accept those, then right away you're going to get access to that Donate Now section. Until you complete that registration by submitting your banking details, you won't have access to the events and peer-to-peer section. So if you're wondering where those are after you complete it, once you complete the registration, then you'll get the full access.
Great. Thank you so much, Jacob, for that answer. Well, it looks like we're just at 3 o'clock right now. I just want to thank both of you, Cindy, Jacob. Awesome tips throughout this entire webinar and a great Q&A session there at the end. So thank you both for your time. And of course, thank you to our listeners for joining us as always. And as Cindy mentioned, keep an eye out in your inboxes for our new and exciting updates coming up and our next webinar. Thanks so much.